Well, I think you're going to really enjoy this podcast. It's a two-part podcast that we did a while back, not very far, hopefully a couple of weeks, where we are interviewing a younger generation on what they'd like to see or what they'd like to hear or how to communicate with the older generation. And the second part is going to be the older generation hearing what the younger generation said and reacting to that. So you're going to want to catch both of these. Connor and Jim Brangenberg kind of orchestrated this thing. And so I'm going to let them speak to the first one. What were you hoping to accomplish in the podcast that's attached to this?
Connor, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, in this effort was really primarily focused on, just quite literally what the title was, bridging the gap, bridging the generations. I think every generation to some extent feels separate from several generations ahead of them, and the further away it gets, the further away they feel. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Part of that's natural, and it's, there's just a certain amount of that's not going to change. But we can bridge the gap as believers. And I think sometimes if Jesus came back tomorrow, he would say, I wanted you to be all in, all together. And I think we have the tendency to really isolate. And so this morning we just had a conversation, hearing from our young leaders about what their needs are, what they're looking for out of older generations, but also how they what are the blind spots maybe they have, how they view work, how they view the relationships that they have with older generations, and what they can do to better bridge that gap.
Jim, do you think we accomplished our goal?
I really do. I really think we learned from both sides of the conversation. This morning's conversation with the young, successful leaders, they were very honest and transparent about what they're looking for, how they feel viewed, and how they view the older generations, but also really their biggest need. And what was the overwhelming conversation was, we want mentors in our life. And we, those of us that were older, which we joked around calling ourselves chronologically superior in the conversation, we just made it clear, here's how you approach us, because many of us are so busy we wouldn't notice that you needed a mentor. But it's just a great conversation. So much honesty and transparency in the conversations today. I thought they were super valuable, Chuck. I'm super glad we did it. And I really hope it helps us to walk in unity in our workplaces, regardless of our generations.
Well, I think you're going to want to listen to this podcast, and it's going to stimulate an interest in next week's podcast when we'll hear, you're going to hear about that in a minute. Thank you.